Welcome to the Blogger Genius Podcast, brought to you by Milo Tree. Here's your host, Jillian Leslie.
Hello, my friends. Welcome back to the Blogger Genius Podcast. I'm your host, Jillian Leslie, and I am all about helping you, the creator, monetize your business. So I want to tell you about the new tool that David, my husband, and I have just built and rolled out, and it is called Milo Tree Easy Payments. It is the easiest way to start a membership or host a one-time workshop. All you do is sign up and we give you a link. We call it your money button, and you can use it, share it, so people sign up for your program. That's it. Plus, there's no monthly fee. We only make money when you make money. We just take a small transaction fee. We wanted to be aligned with you. This is the most cost-effective way to monetize your audience, and there's no complicated tech to learn. We gave this a lot of thought. We think this can be a game changer for you. Remember, there is money in your audience. So go check it out. Head to milotree.com/easypayments. Now for today's episode, we are talking about memberships. I have Roland Denzel on the podcast. He is a wellness coach and his blog is Eat, Move, Live 52. We talk about how he got into wellness, which, as you all know, is a huge space on the internet. And we talk about his membership and how he and his wife, who has a separate one, have built them. And he's willing to also share some of the mistakes he's made or the learnings he has gleaned along the way. If you are thinking about creating a membership or even thinking about how to serve your audience, I think you'll get a lot out of this episode. So without further delay, here is my interview with Roland Denzel. Roland, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
We've been friends for a while. In fact, we got on a call recently so that I could learn about your membership because I'm doing research for Milo Tree Easy Payments, and you were so generous with your time. And I was like, Roland, you have to come on the show. And mostly, I don't know your story. I know you're in wellness. I know you have a membership. I know you've written a book, but that's kind of it. So would you share your entrepreneurial journey and where you are now?
Sure, but I have to be honest that some of them is going to be like I wish I would have done things differently because things are going well. But so hopefully somebody will get something good, something meaty out of the things that I could have done differently. So so my history is, I'm 54 right now. And for my first 35 years, I grew up either chubby, obese, overweight. And there were times when I was like normal weight, but it was really a struggle. It was like I had to really exercise and really watch my food to do that. And it was always a struggle. And when I was 35, I decided that I was done and I was going to take care of this. So I developed a system, because the biggest issue was I would diet. Like you've heard of yo-yo dieting. So I would do the yo-yo dieting. It's not really working for me. And then I would quit. And then a year later, I would try again, and then I would quit, and a year later, try again. So I decided that what I was going to do was I was going to go on this next diet, and it was going to be my last diet. So even if I was not satisfied with the way it was going, I was going to tell myself, you know what, this has served me so far. It was doing well. Until I find the next thing that I want to do, I'm going to stay on this diet because it's not doing me any harm. So I'm going to stay on that diet so I would never be off my plan again. But in the meantime, I would research what is the next step, or I would modify the diet, modify my plan so I would move forward. And so it would never, because the hardest part is to start a diet. But what's harder than starting a diet? Starting it again, because you have this history
of failure,
right? And that's a scar. That's like a little trauma. And every time you do it, it's that much harder. So I decided I didn't want to deal with that anymore. And so I didn't. So when things weren't working great for me, I would say, okay, what is it that I don't like about this? And how can I modify it so I do like it or will work better? And then I would just sort of transition straight from diet not working as well as I would like to diet that I hope would work better. And then over, it's been almost 19 years now, and I haven't been off my plan. I'm doing air quotes, like you can see it, but I'm doing like these, my plan, haven't been off my plan ever since. So I lost 110 pounds and I've kept it off for
Now, did it come back and
19
like,
years.
were there ups and downs, or was it just
No,
a steady thing?
no. Well, there were ups and downs on purpose, like because I got maybe too skinny at some point and decided that I needed to like put on some muscle weight. So I started going lifting weights and eating more protein. And, so it was all on anything that I did was on purpose, but I never got overweight again.
Wow.
Yeah.
And calling it a diet, was that a good thing, or was it better to like, I just, for me, it's like triggering just that word that I'm like, I'd want to call it a plan,
Well, yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where in our first book, we kind of make fun of that because you can say like, oh, it's not a lifestyle. Like in our book, we say like, we call it a diet, but like if I was on Oprah, I would say, oh, Lopra, it's a lifestyle, right? But in reality, no one says, oh, I really need to change I want to go on a lifestyle. Like they say, so we try to use the words that people use and just make them okay, because just calling it something else is like perfuming the pig. It's like, what is it? I was fat. Like some people, when I say I used to be fat, they go, oh, you shouldn't say that. Why? I was fat. I mean, I can say I was overweight, but that's still the same. I was obese, I was chubby, like you can, like, no matter what word you pick, it's going to trigger somebody. So I'd want to make it to where it's okay to talk about these things, and it's okay to be those things and acknowledge that you are, but sometimes you want to change. Sometimes people just want to be healthier. Sometimes people want to lose weight. Sometimes people want to gain weight. But all of those things are valid. All of those things are valid. And the terms that we use, you just have to meet people where they are. Yeah.
So this is at 35. So up until this point, you had like, I guess like a regular job, and then all of a sudden you kind of leaned into this.
Yeah. So I got really interested after like a couple of years of being successful at this, I decided that I was really interested, got more like I wanted to take charge of it on a more, educate myself. So I got a nutrition certification through Precision Nutrition, which focuses on sports and weight loss. So I focus more on the weight loss. I'm not training any athletes. And, but you learn a lot because like a lot of the habit, that's where I learned a lot of my habits, because a lot of athletes are where they are because of the habits that they have, not, and skill of course, and genes, but, it takes a lot of habits to do those things. So I got really interested in that and became also a personal trainer and a kettlebell coach. And then I always liked writing. So I was writing nutrition articles for a website that no longer exists, but it was they had the biggest fitness forum on the internet. And the woman who is now my wife was also writing for this website. And once, eventually, we kind of liked what we wrote and maybe DM'd and emailed, and for like a long time, it was like for years, like we'd never met. We're just friendly emails. And then there was a fitness conference, sort of like if you go to a writing conference, they have fitness conferences too. So we went to this fitness conference and we were both there and we met, and then we went our separate ways. And then we talked about like writing a book together with me as I've been there. And she, who was her whole career was personal trainer and also training the trainers. So she taught other trainers how to do these things and had thousands of clients under her belt, where my only client was me. And so we decided to, combine forces and write a book. And we, along the way, fell in love and got married, published a book, and started doing this business together. So coaching together.
What's the book called?
We have several books we've written, but that particular book was called Man on Top. So it was sort of like it's not really a memoir, but it has a lot of my personal stories, like how I did it, and then her expertise on how you can do it too, using this thing. So Man on Top, lose fat, get fit, and lose your weight for life.
Wow. Okay. And then how did you turn this into an online business?
Well, at first I just started teaching. It was primarily a men's weight loss book. So I started, working with men who read the book. So they would, there's like a thing at the beginning. It was sort of this was the Kindle was new, and self-publishing was new. But I had a printing and publishing background. So my previous job, I was a printing and publishing consultant. So I knew a lot of the stuff that was there. And I was also knew about marketing. So I learned that you could, set up a mailing list. And so I would put a link at the beginning. Hey, if you want like our free forms that you can print off so you don't have to write in your book, come to my website and sign up for the list, and we'll send you these things that they're printer friendly and you can print them off and do these. So we got people to sign up there. And then I just started it's called an autoresponder, where, we're a welcome sequence. Here's your thing. And then a couple of days later, how did you like the thing? What's your biggest challenge with the book? Would you like to leave a review of the book? That would really help. And then you talk to them about how we do coaching as well. And then so people started.
I have to say, I'm expecting the lessons of things that you didn't do right the first time.
That's coming.
Was okay, but that was so brilliant. That was before anybody really knew about this stuff.
Yeah, this was in 2012.
Wow. Okay. So I would say,
Yeah.
After that, like everybody even to this day, when I say, what are your biggest regrets? And they're like, I didn't grow my list. I should have started earlier. So good job there.
Yeah. Thank you. Well, I mean, the reason I'm very passionate about other people, because I work with other authors to kind of help them set up this type of thing as well. And a lot of them are like, oh, I don't want to do a mailing list. Mailing lists are useful. I have all the big list on Facebook or big Twitter following, that kind of stuff. So I say that here's my first mistake, right? So we had a very huge following on that fitness website. About a month before we launched the book, the website disappeared. A bad upgrade, like it upgraded, didn't go well, and people just left. Right. Wow. And I didn't have like a list, like, I can't just like blast everybody out. So like people that were there, we had a whole sub forum there for our book, where you would now call ARC readers, advanced reader copy readers, where people were ready to get the copy of the book, PDF copy, read a review. They would, we hoped that those people would become clients at some point. And the website disappeared, and right. Unless they tracked me down,
right?
Like I had no way to reach them,
right?
So if I could go back in time, I would have started the list way before,
right?
Rather than keep it in that forum or keep it in a Facebook group as you would do today. It would be, hey, if you want to be on this team, on my team, go sign up here, and that's so I can contact you and keep your emails. So yeah, so that's about So I went from like having like 25,000 people that I could reach through this forum down to like just a couple hundred in a couple of days. So it really affects your book launch.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does.
Start your email list early, people.
Totally. So, so you launch these books, you're coaching, and you're building your list, and you're coaching predominantly men, which I love, because again, within the space of wellness, you've got this strategy that works for men. Like you've niched down to men.
You'd think. So this is where problem number 2 comes, right?
Okay.
So then we find out that most of our readers, because if you have like a Facebook group or Facebook page, or even to some degree your email list, you can see the demographics. Like they will give you like the percentage of this. We found out that most of our readers were female, even though it was a men's weight loss book. My personality is more like women like me. I mean, I'm not like the testosterone guy, right? I'm not an alpha guy.
Right.
Right. Yeah. So I was like more like if the dad bod thing was a big thing back then, we probably would have put that in the title of the book. Right.
Totally.
But it was before that time. So our next couple of books were, and some of the programs were not niched down like that. So we thought, oh, people just like us for fitness. So we kind of kept going with the men's stuff, but weren't that many men coming to us. We were attracting more women, but we didn't have the content to support the women. So it wasn't until like couple of books later that we started more female focused stuff and more female focused talk, and our email newsletter became more, more attractive to women, I guess, right? But then you're splitting things, right? So like you kind of got to pick a lane for, like you can change, but then you have to realize that you're leaving behind some of the people that you already have before. Or if you're mixing in, like, I talk about like people, authors who cross genres. I write romance and thrillers, like there's very little overlap. So like, you might continue to write the romance, you might continue to write the thrillers, but every time there's a whole new audience you have to attract. And it's the same with weight loss for men and weight loss for women. Or, yeah.
So how did you then continue to build? So initially it was men, but then you realized, hey, wait a second, we're attracting women. So did you lean into women?
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So our latest books, Eat Well, Move Well, Live Well, 52 Ways to Feel Better in a Week. And it's more focused on, we do have men that still read the book, right? But it's really for women and family, more family focused. And it did much better. But if we could have gone back in time and started, like you kind of pick your lane and who you're writing for. And it comes down to, like, I think you've talked about like your avatar, like, finding your avatar and visualizing that person, or maybe even putting a name to them and, a picture of them. So who you're writing to. Like now it's very clear who I'm writing to, but back then it wasn't. You think you're writing to everybody, but this is my personal story, right? So I could have done lots of things. If you know who your avatar is, I could have told the same story. Basically, my wife and I could have written that same book, but without calling it Man on Top, meaning it's more for men. It could have just been
right. That as a woman, that feels a little aggressive as a title.
I know. Okay. I know my pastor at the time read it and went, is this a sexual innuendo? And I'm like, no, it's not, but it's like more like you're on top of the mountain. Right. But I can see how it would be that way. Right. He goes, it's funny anyway, but right. So I get it. Yeah.
Okay. So then what did you do next? So are you predominantly making money via book sales, via coaching, via what? Like how does it work?
Coaching in our memberships.
Okay. Got it.
It's predominant. And so like right now the books are almost
like, is it one-on-one coaching or is it group coaching?
Some, but it's mostly small groups. So for a couple of reasons. One is I just love it so much more. I love I've been using Zoom for years, like way before Zoom was cool or forced upon us, right? I've been using Zoom. And I just like to get, 5 or 6 people on Zoom. And then it's just like you're sitting there like at a table or a restaurant or something like that with 5 or 6 people. And you just kind of go around the room and you can share experiences, and like I can teach a lesson, and then I can, talk to each person about their goals from last week and what they wanted to do and like what their stumbling blocks were. And then sort of and then it's just amazing because other people will put their hand up. Oh, I have that problem too. Or this is how I was able to overcome this. And even though I can say all those things to each person in a one-on-one setting, it's so much more powerful for them to all like be nodding their head and say, oh, I've been there too. Or wow, that like you see them, like you say something sometimes, or one of the other members will say something and everyone else will start, right? You can see they're all writing something down, like because it's just such a better experience. And from the selfish perspective, my wife says when I come out of these group meetings, like I'm always smiling and happy. And when I come out of like the one-on-ones, sometimes I just feel exhausted because it's like, like, and it's because the people are so much happier. Like you do a lot of group things too. So when you come out of there, you get energized by the group.
I do. And you know what? For me, like David and I have an entrepreneur coaching group for bloggers and online entrepreneurs. And it's a small group. And like, I haven't really opened it. Like if you wanted to join, you could reach out to me, but like, we're not really advertising it. And partly because there's a specialness about this group, and they show up for us, but they also show up for each other. And I weirdly feel like going through the pandemic with them has been so good for my mental health. And there is that feeling of like, we're all cheering each other on. We're in different niches. We share what we're working on. We're there to answer questions, but it's like we go through and we do like a Q&A, but a lot of times it's just me checking in and going, what's working for you? What's not working for you? And I love it when the other people in the group chime in, whether it be with help, support, more questions. Like it's so additive versus you're right.
Yeah.
Like when I also do one-on-one coaching, and I know what you mean about it can be very draining, but somehow when you get this like group interaction, and if it's good, it's really good.
Yeah, absolutely. And what I found over time, I learned this from my wife. Like she taught me, like, even though we as a group, we meet once per week, it's about an hour per, in this group setting, but then it goes like 3 weeks of group. And then the last week is I meet one-on-one with people. And so they can say things like and check in more in depth with, Jillian, like, what are your goals? Like, how you feel like your overall goals are? Do you want to revamp your goals? Do you want to focus on something else? Do you have any things you like? Well, I'm not a therapist, but it comes out as like, oh, I'm frustrated with this that I didn't want to share with the group. So that gives us an opportunity to do those things as well. And then I make myself available, like for like emergency tech. We call it like the lifeline, like, like when you call for a lifeline, because people, people come from all different directions. I had people call me from Trader Joe's and say, which of these hummuses should I buy? I'm like, the fact that you're buying hummus is like a huge step. And they're like, oh, thank you for saying that. Like, just buy the hummus that looks the best, that has the best, that looks like the ingredients that are going to call to you and you're going to enjoy. And, and they're like, oh, thank you. And, so it's fun to be able to do this. So it's a mixture of group and one-on-one, and it's just, I think it really works the best for everybody. Yeah. And then as my goal as a coach is not to make people like there are apps and services where they sign you up and you're kind of like on there forever, like Netflix or Amazon Prime, like there's the good reasons to be on some things forever, like your cable TV or cable, internet, you want to be on forever. But your weight loss plan, you shouldn't. You should be able to learn the skills and the habits that it takes to set you up for a lifetime of health and healthy weight. And so my goal is to get people to where they graduate and they don't have to, be in there forever. And I think it's, if I can't teach you the skills and the habits you need in like 6 months to a year, then I'm not doing my job.
There's something very honorable about that. My mom is retired now, but she was a therapist, and she would always say that she would want people to leave, and yet that was not good for her business.
Right.
So it's like she would say, I feel this, you would think I want people to stay forever because they pay me. And yet I really want them to leave. I want them to feel like they don't have to be in therapy forever, and that they have the skills to now, like, and if they need, and my mom's always like, if you need to come back.
Right.
But don't think that this is, we're going to be here for 7 years kind of thing.
Right. Yeah.
And
exactly.
So are you constantly then, how are you, okay, so given that you want people to leave, how are you continuing to fill your funnel and get people to join one of your groups?
I continue to blog posts. So like some of it is SEO, like some of them, find SEO. I'm still working on that. I'm not the best at, like, if I had somebody that gave me the keywords and the couple of long tail keyword phrases, right, I would probably do fine. But that's the part that's the biggest challenge for me, finding the things that I should write about. Because what will happen is I'll find something and I'll write something that brings in a lot of people, but it's not perfectly aligned with my brand, right? So now I'm bringing in a lot of people that are looking for something different than what I offer. So maybe consciously or subconsciously. So that's been that's a little bit of a challenge. But my wife is doing really well with Facebook ads. We have 2 different memberships that we go. So we have one that's just based on our book, Eat Well, Move Well, Live Well. So it's the 3 tiers, 3 tenets, I guess, or wait, the 3 pillars, let's say pillars. eating, so nutrition, movement, and overall lifestyle, which is a lot of mindfulness, stress relief, that kind of stuff. So it's the 3 pillars. So we have that membership. And then my wife also, she's a somatic experiencing therapist or practitioner, an emotional eating coach.
So will you explain what that is? What's somatic?
Sure. So somatic experience is, I would, if she was here, I would just say, come over here and explain it. But so somatic is touch. So it's like, so it's therapy that involves body, like more body consciousness and some sort of touch, like does it over Zoom. So she's not touching anybody, right? But it's body consciousness and body awareness and nervous system. It's a lot of the stuff with the nervous system. So she works with people also in small groups and teaches them nervous system activation, the calming down the nervous system. Because when you have an emotional eating issue, it's similar to having a gambling issue or an alcohol issue or a smoking issue. Like, so it's something that your body needs. It's not usually the food. I mean, we all need food, but it's not no one needs to overeat the food, or no one eats specifically the sugar, or no one eats specifically to have crunchy, salty snacks. So those are all things that are serving a purpose for us that we probably don't really need. So we need to find out what are those things that food is serving the subconscious purpose for us, and how can we address it, and then find a way to stop relying on that salty, crunchy snack, for instance, which triggers vibrations in the jaw, which hits a nerve, which goes up and stimulates a specific part of the brain. And that serves us in some sort of way. So there's a substitute for that. There's addressing the issue that makes us like need that less, and then finding a healthy substitute for that, which is probably not food related. It could be mindfulness. It could be a practice of, it sounds weird, but like humming, like, because the humming will do the same thing. So you can find ways to address it. And a lot of it is like, once you're aware that, I mean, I'm not saying like humming is like the ultimate solution, but my wife sometimes like, well, I hear her humming off in the distance with a client. And I'm like, what were you humming about? She goes, oh, I was teaching them like how to, when you have this particular craving, how to make yourself aware that it's not necessarily that you need Doritos. You needed this feeling, right? Sometimes it's a nostalgic feeling. Sometimes it's, sometimes you're sad. Sometimes you want to be happy. And so a lot of times when we do these behaviors, whether it's eating, smoking, chewing gum, whatever, it's doing something to help us through something, which is like either like a big trauma or a little trauma, or trauma we forgot we had. So that's why she's somatic experience, trauma therapist, emotional eating coach. Those things are all sort of intertwined. So she has a 6-month program for this as well, that she works with people.
So you both she does your membership with you, and then she has her own
membership. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm not qualified to teach for that membership.
Okay.
Because she's a professional and professional therapist.
Now, when you think about your memberships, what would you say you would recommend for somebody who was starting a membership? Like, what do you think works, and where have you struggled, or what has been more difficult?
The struggle has been that, well, give you an example. So the struggle with our Eat, Move, Live, it's called Eat, Move, Live 365. So it's the 365 days a week. You can do these things, and we provide, all the guidance for you to do that. It's a little bit vague. It's, maybe not vague, isn't that where it's too much of everything. It's not specific, solving a specific enough problem. So if somebody needs to lose 50 pounds, right? And they come and they look at the membership sign-up page, they're going to go, oh, well, they're going to help me with eating better, eating healthier, making nice recipes that are healthy, a couple of gentle habits. It's like not specific enough. So like we talked about earlier, niche down, right? So it's not just niche down in the specific of like what area you're focusing on, but how you're going to do it. Right? Give them something specific. I'm going to help you in this way. You can provide the other stuff too if you think that's important. Like I could focus on food, nutrition habits, and cooking skills, right? And I could also give them some movement, and I could also give them some mindfulness, right? And that would be fine because those are supportive elements. But on my sales page or my sign up page, I should really focus on how I'm going to help them quickly, give them what they're going to need, and give them the skills that are going to sustain them for life. That would be a better way to do it. So, and we're starting to make those changes now. Because once people get in join, they stay pretty much forever. Like we've had people in this membership because the membership, we wanted it to be cost effective. So people could be almost like the Netflix of health, right? So you come in, you get all the recipes you need, you get all the mindfulness practices, all the movement practices, and you get me and or my wife to help you navigate through these things. But getting the new people in isn't there because like we give you all those things you need. And people think that it's a little bit overwhelming.
We all know that writing great blog posts is an amazing way to grow our businesses, even if you're not an official blogger. But how do you do that? Well, I've got something, a freebie that I think you're going to really like. It is my blog post checklist. If you go to milotree.com/blog post checklist, you can download this. And all it is a framework for creating optimized content that your audience will love and that Google will love. Do not write a blog post without it. Head to milotree.com/blog post checklist. It's as easy as that. And now back to the show. As I am working with David, my husband, on building MiloTree Easy Payments, we're just a way for you to get paid, right, for your members. But I am learning, of course, best practices, seeing it in my own membership. And I think you've hit on something really specific or a really important piece, which is what is the transformation? What specifically are they going to learn by doing this rather than it's kind of mushy and soft and all inclusive, like kind of like a buffet. And the thing that I have realized is that less tends to be more. Our instinct is to like overgive, to be like, it's just so worth it. So look, you've got all these things to choose from, and that, it's more difficult then for somebody to go, but wait, I want you to tell me what path. Like, I don't want to choose my own adventure. I want you to go here and then go here and then go here. I love blogs, for example, that have start here in the nav, because guess what I do? I start there. Like, I'm not going to click around if you tell me start here. And so that's something that I continue to think about in my own membership, and also, when coaching others to build memberships. I feel like there are a couple specific things, and you can tell me what you think about this. One, I think, is community, and having that way for people to interact with you, that you're human and that they feel like they can touch you or get help from you. Two is to provide that kind of step, like go here, then go here, then go here. And three is to not offer so much that it's overwhelming, that they feel like they're, kind of like you with your diet, where it would be like, I failed, it's like, if you've got so much that somebody's supposed to do, and then they don't, like I belonged to this membership very recently, where it was to help me grow my Facebook group, which I'd love to do. And it was like $14 a month. And I went one time and started like absorbing, watching videos, and there were a ton of videos. And then I stopped, and it was like on my list of things to do, and I never got to it. And it made me feel bad. And it was only $14. So it wasn't like I was, it wasn't thousands of dollars or even $100. But I finally said to myself, if I don't go look at it, like next week, I have to cancel. And you know what? That wasn't a big enough motivation. I ended up not looking at it and canceling. And then I weirdly felt relief because even though it would have helped me, it was too much. And I just couldn't do it. And I felt too inadequate. It made me feel bad.
Yeah. Well, you brought up something that I've experienced as well with our membership, where we've had people cancel, and we try to do like a nice exit interview, especially if they've been with us for a while, like, because we become friends. And, hey, thank you so much for sticking with us, and I hope we would love to talk to you, like how we can help you in the future. Just so if they need something in the future, or they, maybe they know somebody who needs what they had, right? And what we heard was that we were providing so much new content every month that they felt like they couldn't do it all, and they felt like overwhelmed. They were overwhelmed, like, oh my gosh, I'm this pressure to finish it. When our goal was to provide enough so everyone had enough to satisfy what they needed. So over time, we've dialed it back. We still have a huge, like a library of stuff, but every month we have much less new stuff every month. And we just say, hey, there's more stuff here. So we try to get more conversation with them and then guide them to the additional things that they can have. Because like once you've built up a good library of, like, if you've run a membership for a couple of years, if you're creating content for it, you have things that, we have hundreds and hundreds of things in there, right? And a new person will never find it all. So it's really and you don't want that stuff to be lost. It's great stuff. You don't want that to be lost forever. So we curate it. And we bring it back. And then, so because a huge part of the value, if you're doing a membership, like you don't need to you should make new stuff regularly, like to address the needs of the current membership. Or if you're doing like social media things, like, what's new in social media, like you have to have updated stuff. But if you're creating recipes, the recipes you made 2 years ago are still amazing today, right? So share them, like bring them out. Like, like people who joined this week, they didn't see that recipe 2 years ago.
And they're not going to go searching for it.
No.
So how do you
we started making tools for them that was like, here's something you can print. Here's the new content this month. You can print it off and it's a checklist. And we would encourage them, circle the things you want to do. If something's you don't want to do, cross it off or circle it and make it, because it's a dopamine hit. It's like, or it's, if I get rid of the thing I don't want to do, now I no longer have the pressure. Where we wanted them to acknowledge, right? I'm not into mindfulness this month. So just leave them off the list. Don't write those things down. They're there if you ever need them, but like, don't feel obligated to do them. So you're giving yourself permission to not do it. And that it's been so much better. And it's been much easier on my wife and me as well, because it's less pressure to make brand new, elaborate things every month. And then we can support our members better.
I love that. It's the less is more phenomenon. And like, I am that person, by the way, with the dopamine hit, like I make lists and I love crossing things off. And even if I do something that's not on my list, I write it on my list so I can cross it off. Yeah. Like after I've done it, because it does make me feel happy. And I do think that it's like in this group or this thing that I had joined, kind of had they given me a roadmap, I think I would have done much better. But because it was this like all you can eat buffet of Facebook strategy, one, I can't consume it so much. Like I have to kind of pace myself just in general just to absorb it. But, the overwhelm was too great. And so I'm it's funny, David and I today for MiloTree Easy Payments, one thing that we are working on is you sign up and you fill out a little form and we auto create a sales page for you, right? That you can then use. And we are continuing to take things off the sales page, even though of course you want more, but we're like, do we really need to give this to people? Sure. It's a nice to have, but is it a necessary must have? And so we're like, this is a perfect example. You should have a section on your sales page where it talks about you and your expertise. And there's a spot where you put your photo up. And David challenged me and he said, do you think though, that if people have to put a photo up, and especially if it needs to fit in a certain way and look good, is it
In
worth
that
it?
circle.
Yeah, exactly. It was a circle. And he's like, that the person has to be smack in the middle of the photo and they might not know that. And then it will look weird. So you know what we did? We said, screw it. We're not going to have people at a photo because we don't want places where it stops somebody in their progress. And so that's been something that I've been really thinking about in my own business of how do I give you forward momentum with fewer roadblocks, even if it would be great if I could offer you everything.
And that's perfect. Like what I teach people in my health coaching clients, and I also work with some authors, I told you before I worked with some authors, but to get their productivity up, I always tell them, both groups, because this works with any habit, you should create habits that are so easy to succeed at that you just can't fail, because you can always make them harder, right? But if you fail too many times, you'll quit. And then there's nothing to make harder, right? So there's nothing to, so like start off small, and every time you get a dope, doesn't really matter. Like you can have for authors, write 10 minutes per day, start with that. And then like every time you've finished it, take a marble and throw it in the jar, a coin in the jar, something that's your dopamine hit, or make a check on your calendar, throw something in the jar and makes clink, get one of those little bells, like the service counter bell, ding, ding, you do it, you hit that thing, that's a dopamine hit. And then after like a few days of that, you're like, oh, that was pretty good. I'm on a roll now. Now I can maybe 20 minutes per day. And it's the same thing with your diet and lifestyle. So let's say one of the things I want people to do is eat more protein. So like lead with protein. So when you're thinking of your food, you're going to either you're going to cook, or you're going to buy, order in. What is the protein? Make sure you're going to have enough protein for that meal. And then the rest, doesn't matter. Like later on, we'll fine tune that. So like, that's pretty easy. What's my main protein source? Okay, it's going to be chicken. Is this dish going to have enough chicken? Yes, it is. Great. Ding, I did it, right? So if you do that for a week, 3 meals a day for a week, that's 21 dings, right? It's a pretty good feeling because it's so easy to do that. You set yourself up. What's the opposite of setting yourself up? You set yourself up for success, right? So you want to do that. And the next time you're like, okay, what's the next thing I can do? Like that was so successful. I got 21 dopamine hits last week. That's an extra dopamine hit just for hitting 21, right? And then like you're like, oh, I'm gonna like make double my vegetables, because most people don't have enough vegetables. Like most people go with the 5 a day, but the 5 a day is it's the minimum. It's the minimum level, right? So start with the 5 a day, and then like 6 per day, 7 per day. You can easily build that up over time. And these are the kind of skills and habits that you're going to build that are, it's going to be 19 years later, and you're going to be like, oh wow, I'm still doing this.
Okay, here's a question.
Yeah.
What do you think in your memberships you guys do really well? And where are you working to improve them?
It is the community, I think, is the biggest thing. Like I'm a people person. I'm not like super outgoing, and I'm not an introvert, but I'm sort of like a shy extrovert. But in my groups, I'm really good with communicating. And online, it gives, whether you're an extrovert or an introvert, or you're shy or outgoing, it's really easy to share things online because you're typing. People don't have that, or you can get on camera if you like to be on camera, and you can sort of push yourself out there to a group of people that love you. So it really allows you, or that trust you, really allows you to reach them. And it feels like you're reaching them one-on-one. So I've had people, like many people I feel like are in our membership, more for us and the calming effect, right? That we can bring the voice of reason, right? We can help them reach their goals in a way that we understand. We've both been there. My wife, even though she was an emotional eater, right? So she had nervous system issues. I was overweight, right? I had gut issues that I've taken care of. I'm not, even though I'm a kettlebell coach, or I was not particularly flexible. I was not an athlete, but I still can do these things now. Like I was you, right? And I was able to improve myself. So if I can do it, so it's like, it's a little bit, people throw around vulnerable, make yourself vulnerable. They throw around too easily. And sometimes people try too hard to make themselves vulnerable, but just be honest, be honest with people and, allow them to know you and you get to know them. Yeah. And that's the biggest way. And then give them what they need. Make sure that they are, we give them what they need, and in a way that is not like turning on a fire hose. Open your mouth and turning on a fire hose. That's not going to work.
And what would you say you are working on right now to make it even better?
Well, one of the things you mentioned earlier, when you go to a website and it's a start here, right? So we want it to make, and we've already implemented some of these things. I work with authors, and if you go to my website for authors, it's very clear. Here's what I do. Here's where you start. Here's what the things, and the same thing with my wife's. As you go to her purebelonging.com, it's her emotional eating one. It's like, it's very clear. Here's a chapter of her book that you could get for free, or here's the workshop that she's getting. So it's really right off the bat, she's a coach, she's an author. This is the services, types of things that she offers, versus a lot of people hide these things. Like, you make a blog post and you don't really know what they're doing. It's almost like they're embarrassed that they are offering services. So people should know right away when they go to your site, because you want people to join your list just for the free stuff. I mean, it's fine that they're on your list for the free stuff, but eventually you need to let them know that you're offering some sort of services. So they will do that. So the only reason people should be coming to your website over and over and over again is if you have an ad focused website, or if you're an affiliate, you're selling affiliate products or something like that. But if you're a coach, or if you have a membership, you kind of let them know right away. And that's so the thing that you give them for free should be supportive of that work that you do.
I love that. It's funny. So as I told you, we coach bloggers, and what I say to them, and this is always a little bit shocking, is I say, you're not a content creator, you're a content marketer. And they're like, what? But I'm a food blogger. And I said, yeah, but every piece of content you create is not just for the good of the world. It's for the good of the world and for you to grow your business. So it means that in that post, if you want them to sign up for your list, that needs to be front and center, because there's value there. You offer some value and you put arrows. I don't necessarily, there could be physical, there could be actual arrows, but it's like you let them know, hey, this is what you need to do next. Kind of like the start here. If you're reading this blog post, I have one thing that will benefit you that I want you to do. Join my list, or I want you to buy my cookbook, or I want you to go see this sponsor that this post, I'm working with, or I want you to join, follow me on Instagram, whatever it is. I'm going to be super clear that this is the path, rather than, hey, I don't really want to seem salesy or tell you what to do. So I might put just like a little mention of it way at the bottom. There was a blogger we were working with, and she sells these amazing balloon garlands. And the selling of the balloons, she does this beautiful display of balloon garlands. And then at the way bottom of the post was, hey, if you want to buy these balloon garlands, here's where you can buy them. And I said,
we
no.
also sell them.
Yeah, well, but don't feel pressure. So I said, no. You put the balloon garlands at the top of the post, and you say, hey, before reading this post, get these balloon garlands, because then it'll all make sense. So buy the balloon garlands. Now I'm going to walk you through how to set this up and have a beautiful display. So I think you're absolutely right that the clearer we are, the better. And you signing up if I get you to sign up for my list, I'm not tricking you into signing up. There's value there. I believe in what I'm doing. So I'm offering value. I'm not like, hey, I pulled a fast one. So it's like a mindset shift.
Yeah, it's like at Costco, like when they get the little tray and here's the free sample. They're not tricking you into buying those meatballs. They're like, do you like these meatballs? If you do, they're right over there.
Right.
Right.
And you wouldn't have
Like,
known that you liked them unless you tasted them. But now that you tasted them, they're
I'm not going to
good.
try those meatballs because you might want me to buy the bag. Like, well, they're not
Exactly.
going to shove them in your cart and like make you pay for them. Like, you can unsubscribe from the meatballs or unsubscribe from the list or whatever. Um, yeah, it's I think one of the things that I realized and it with bloggers and authors is they think people are like them.
Mm.
So bloggers read a lot of blogs because, oh, I want to blog, so I'm going to read a lot of blogs so I can see what kind of blogs are doing well. And that's why they're blogging now, because they saw a lot of blogs. Now I could blog, I could do that, I could maybe do that better, I could do that differently. So, but I think most people don't realize that unless your site is so amazing and rates so high on Google, no one's ever coming back to your blog. I mean, very rarely, right? So if I Google a recipe or I Google balloon bouquet, I'm going to see that thing. And if I don't sign up for your list, I'll probably never come back.
Right.
Because like, why would I need to come back again? Like,
Right.
if I Google it, like, I'm not going to Google that unless I Google the same recipe again. Oh, I made those beef short ribs. Like, what was it? But if I Google beef short ribs, another one could be near the top and I won't know necessarily that it's the same one. Right.
Totally. When people will say, I got that recipe on Pinterest. It's like, well, no, you didn't get it on Pinterest. You got it on somebody's blog, but you don't remember the blog.
Yeah. 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 So, it's like, I sign up for a lot of things and I unsubscribe from a lot of things because if I like what that person's offering, I want to get more of it. And that's the same thing. So, but you have to know like but I only do it if the thing that they're offering is in line with the thing that I came for or was looking for. It doesn't have to match entirely, but it's like, oh, I like those short ribs and here's a recipe for things you can do with your Instant Pot because it was an Instant Pot short rib. Oh, I could use that. This Instant Pot is new. I could use that thing. And like, maybe I will buy their cookbook or something like that down the road. But they didn't trick me into it. And unless I subscribe, I'll probably never go back there because I won't remember which Instant Pot short rib recipe I found unless
on Pinterest.
On Pinterest, right? Yeah. Yeah. So, and it's the same thing. So you have to think when people are Googling things for a solution, or they're Pinteresting things for searching on Pinterest for a solution or going on YouTube for a solution. Like they're even on Amazon, they're looking for a book. Either it's a solution to the entertainment or it's a solution for a nonfiction book. So you have to do what it is to get their attention and keep it, because if you don't, somebody else is going to do it. Remember those super long sales pages, like 10, 15 years ago, that would just go on forever and ever and ever and ever, and people would be like, oh, I hate those things because people are so slimy for having these super long sales pages. And I said, maybe, but if this is because of one of the big in the fitness industry, I said, oh, so you have a kettlebell program that's better than that person's kettlebell program? Yes, but I'm not going to do those big long sales pages. Well, those big long sales pages work. And sales pages are like the Force. You can use them for good or for evil. It's the dark side or the light side. So it really depends on how you use it. So if you don't use it, they're going to buy from that other guy. And you just said he's a scammer. He just said he doesn't know what he's talking about. So you, by not making that long sales page or the pop-up or the freebie, to sign up for my list, if you don't use those tools in a way that adequately gets that person, you are allowing the scammer or the lesser or the competition or whatever to get that business. And so if you feel like what your product is the best, own it. Offer them, find a way to get in front of that person and keep their attention, because they're not coming back to your website.
I love that. That is so true. It's something like, I think 85% of your traffic is one time.
Yeah.
And so it is about how do you make that first impression, throw value at that person so they can't help but sign up for the crock pot, or the Instapot ebook, because and to make it relevant, you're looking for an Instapot recipe. Hey, how about if you like this one, you might like this one. I've got this for you. So it's just putting those pieces together. So Roland, I could talk to you forever, but I want I want to be mindful of your time, and I'd love to have you come back for a part 2 so we can talk further as you fine tune your membership. And especially because I'm doing a lot of episodes about memberships as we go on this journey of starting our MiloTree Easy Payments. So if people want to learn about you, learn about your membership, and you, by the way, you do have such a soothing voice. Like, I understand why people join your memberships. Because like, I'm like, I want you as my life coach. Like, I want to check in with you.
My wife.
Really? Okay.
She's my wife because she's got the exotic accent and, she's from Bulgaria.
Oh, that's very exotic. Yes. So if people want to reach out to you, learn more about you and your memberships and all that you do, what is the best way?
You can go to my website, which is Eat Move Live 52, the numbers, eatmovelive52.com. Or you can email me at Roland at eatmovelive52.com. And I will, if you have questions about like whatever, like my wife's website is purebelonging.com. So if you wanted to see what if your emotional eating, nervous system work that she does, you can see her there. But we're both on eatmovelive52.com. And my wife's always in the next room. So I can always, get her, show her the email. So you feel free to reach out to me at I love on Instagram as well. I keep it super simple. I don't have one of those fancy names on Instagram. It's just Roland Denzel.
Okay. Can you spell
really
that?
Easy to find.
Spell it.
Yeah. ROLANDDENZEL. So Roland, like the synthesizer, like the keyboards and the big rock bands, and Denzel, like Denzel Washington. No spaces or underlines or anything like that. It's the best thing because I have a unique name.
Yes, absolutely. Well, Roland, I have to say thank you so much for coming on the show.
You're very welcome. It was great to be on. I love it.
What I really like about Roland is how much he cares. I feel that in everything he does, he just wants to make people's lives better. If you're thinking about a membership, that is really the secret sauce, is showing that love, showing up for your people, and really trying to help them in their lives. I have a very quick favor to ask you. If you're enjoying the podcast, would you, after you finish listening, head to iTunes and give us 5 stars, or I think you can also do it on your Apple Podcast player. Or would you just share the podcast with a friend? This way it will continue to grow and I can continue to bring you awesome guests. I'd really appreciate it. And I will see you here again next week.